machine experience. It is not SEO. So on that note, Tom, good to have you join us coming live via Starlink somewhere in Croatia.
Yes, thank you very much, Hannes. Yeah, machine experience. It's not SEO, it's not accessibility, it's not GEO, and it's not just the web. I've written a book which I call MX, the Handbook. The Handbook introduces the MX practice. Now, MX isn't something that I want to own, it's something I want to share with the world. Machine experience is how machines experience the web, just like user experience is how users experience the web. I've been working in IT for many, many years. I started in 1977 working in assembler, and I created a content management system way, way, way back in the ancient days. Anybody who remembers the Commodore PET, I created a thing called Superbase, which was a database management system which rendered content on the screen, and people used it as all sorts of things, and one of them was content management. Anyway, moving on, I've gone through AEM, come out the other side, and now I'm working with the machine readable web. The category we are currently reaching for, which is the web, is a little bit small. Machine experience covers everything that we do. The handbook is for practitioners working in the web, and it talks a little bit about JSON-LD, SEO, GEO, etc. But MX is a wider topic than that. I hope I cover it a bit in the handbook. I also have a free book, which is an introduction to MX, and I'm working on the massive volume, which is MX for the world, for every form of document. And I hope to get that published in July, maybe August. So there's a case that did not exist. On a telly, Ally McBeal, season 3, an AI looked at the fan page and said, ooh, that looks like something I can use for this lawyer friend of mine that I'm writing a court case for, and then put it into a legal proceeding and presented it in front of the judge. So the judge threw the case out because, you know, this is fiction, but the page didn't say it was fiction. The court didn't say it was genuine. The machine that read the page guessed, and it guessed wrong, and it poured it into something that was business shattering for the lawyers. This happens more than once and in many places across the internet. Machines read like an 8-year-old. Ask a child for a toy and watch what they do. They'll just go into a website, they won't follow the links, they won't follow the pages, they won't create accounts, they won't compare prices, they won't look for values, they'll say, that one, that's the one I want, and then move on. And if dad doesn't buy it, the child goes in a huff. So a machine, the child only asks once, the machine asks billions of times a day for everyone. So it jumps into your website, goes to a page, goes, yes, please. And if it can't do anything with it, it has a tantrum, goes somewhere else. You lose the traffic. You don't get the funnel. You don't know what's happening. It's a new user and it acts. It's not a chatbot, it's an agent. Agents are slightly more than chatbots. Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Anthropic have all launched agent commerce. These agents buy, book, file, compare, and advise. They read your documents and they act on what they find. You rarely see them in analytics, and mistakes are no longer page views. They are actions that take on in your name and on your facts. People go, this is just accessibility. You know, you jump to the things that you know. It's accessibility, it's SEO, it's GEO. No, it's more. Each one of those things have got a trigger in machine experience. The machine can use those triggers to improve what the machine is seeing on the page, but machine experience needs just a little bit more of that. If you had the accessibility, the SEO, and the GEO, that would have been useful, but none of them would have said this is a TV script, because that wasn't in the JSON-LD, etc., in the fan page. So it's not just accessibility, but don't forget, accessibility wins. Accessibility is about people reading. MX is about machines. They both want the same thing. Accessibility is a person can perceive and operate this page. MX continues to say a machine can trust this document and act on it anywhere it travels. Accessibility is a legal duty about people, but MX is a structural practice about every reader and every actor, and it doesn't matter whether it's human or machine, you are giving it structure. SEO is an assertion. It says what you are doing, it gets you found and ranked. It never asks whether it's true, current, or vouched for. It just says this is something. Schema.org is an unverified assertion. Anyone can claim anything. And the minute content changes, your schema.org is out of the way. MX adds attestation. We have fields that said who said it, when they said it, what a machine may do with it, when it will be revised, when it will be reviewed, when it will be suspended, etc., etc., etc. The content operations material that has always been missing from the documents, but are in your data lakes. You have the information, you're just not surfacing it to the users. The human users would use inference and work things out. Machines can't do that. Machines just accept what you say. And if you don't say something, it will make it up. So it's MX, it's not just SEO, and it's not GEO. GEO is the latest and greatest that everybody's doing, and it's good. How do I get mentioned in the answer? It doesn't care where you're pointing to a real record or a hallucinated one. It doesn't look for sources. It just says, act on me and put me into an AI conversation. But MX wants this mention in the conversation to be accountable so that the machines and the people can track back to the source, who said it, why they said it, when they said it, when they're going to maintain it. What is machine experience? Go back to the user experience example. Steve Krug's book, Don't Make Me Think, actually affected the whole of the UX market. My book says, don't make the machine think. It's the same thing. If it has to think, it will invent things. Don't make it guess who to trust. UX works for a person. MX works for a machine. MX is metadata. It travels with a document, and it tells you about its intended use. It's machine readable, machine trustworthy, so a machine can verify it. It keeps your content usable, believable, and if you meet it outside the place that made it, it still does those things. Metadata embedded in a PDF that is sent via email to somebody will have all of the metadata that was in the data pool that created the PDF. Therefore, the document will still be readable. Schema.org and semantic HTML are inside this frame, and these get added as metadata too and travel with the document. They are not the entirety of MX. So what does it look like? A document says, what am I? It tells people whether it's a judgment, a press release, a product express, a policy. Where did I come from? The author, the date, the source. Has it been signed? Did somebody say, yes, this is really me? Who is the publisher? Those things can be in the MX record. What can you do with me? Can you cite me? Can you act? Can you transact? And if you cite me, must you give the provenance? Must you give the reference back? Must you say taken from Tom's website? All of these things are in the MX records. A human will see normal content, but the machine, the MX, a record it can check, not a string of words that it can take on faith. The metadata travels inside the file. Copy the file anywhere, and the answers will come with it. The machines, when fed into another data lake, do not have to invent. It's not just the web. Keep on talking about the data lake. The web is important, and especially to CMS experts. But the documents get fed into the data pools. AIs read the data pools, and the data pools then generate fresh content. We have to have a contract in a PDF or a court record or a logline or an image. Everybody in the world is setting up AI provenance tasks where you must say which model you ran, what you ran on the model, what the prompts were, what the inputs were, what the outputs were, where a human reviewed it. This is all MX territory. And my large book coming out in July has got great detail about this, and I applied this practice to my own business. So everything carries the same self-description and the same verifiable claim. When a document proves what it is, and it works the moment a machine meets it, it's off your site, off your platform, it could be years later. It's your reviews, your knowledge, your reputation, your right to transact. These are all portable and provable, not trapped in a CMS, not trapped in content ops. I have 3 books. The introduction, it's a free book. What machine experience is and why it already matters, the why. It includes the business case. The handbook is practical patterns for the web. Talk about machines, read what to fix, how to test, the how of the thing for the web. That is for CMS experts, I think, a very, very good focus. When you go beyond and to the next level of machine experience, every document, every asset, everywhere, for all time, that is what the protocols covers, the depth. One principle, make it work for machines. 3 different attitudes, spelling mistake, 3 different attitudes to how to make this work. There's a question. Talk about question and answer later, but for you, that handbook covers front-end basics. The real challenge, can a machine trust what leaves your pages? Adoption friction disappears once browser ships agents by default. Now that's happening now. Google are putting in browser agents into Chrome. Everybody is going to have a small LLM without great capacity running in their pocket. Accountability gap in organization. Nobody owns MX. Without ownership, content drifts and we prove nothing. So we have a big problem here. I'm trying to push MX as a practice within all businesses, and not just in content management, but in every document that's produced. This is a large scale change point that the world needs. And we think about the publication point. The CMS owns the point of origin. Who vouches for the content as it travels beyond it? You create a PDF, you create a product catalog, you create artifacts that are published on the web, JSON, etc. You own the publication point if you work in CMS. Who owns the trust that leaves your CMS? What does your site look like to a machine that has to answer for you? There's action and reaction, there's ambiguity, there's true provenance and resources. I've got books and blogs, etc. I'm happy to share. And finally, I have the free book that you can start reading. It's got adverts for the other books and links and blog posts in there. So I think that's the end of my talk. I'd love to open the session to questions.
Very good. Thank you, Tom. And thank you also for giving us a little bit time to discuss and talk and reflect. Perhaps you can stop sharing your screen. In the meantime, I can hold up this book that I received very kindly from Tom when we met in Frankfurt. And not only did it make me very happy to see it, because it expanded from this advanced preview edition that I saw in London end of February. So you have come a long way, Tom, and done, I think, the community a great favor of documenting your learning journey. And when I say doing the community a favor, it also makes me particularly proud to read the credits in the opening of the book, or the acknowledgements, which reads a little bit like a member directory of helpful members. Matt Garapi at CMS Critic, Chris Price in Toronto, Carrie Haynes, Shannon Mulhauer here from Aarhus, David Strachan, and several others. And I think this means a lot to me, that kind of the community is so helpful to somebody like you, Tom, who is really helping us understand the invisible users and all the impacts that this has. So
it started in Florida 2.5 years ago, when I realized that AI was, the point of AI isn't creating content, the point of AI is reading content. So thank you, Yanis.
No, thank you, all of you, to helping with this. Questions, comments, reflections. I think we have time. You can use the raise hand function. You can also just more or less jump in as if we were meeting in person. I can, of course, keep asking as well, but I wanted to give what is normally a very talkative community the opportunity to reflect on what you just heard about designing the web for AI agents and everybody else. Mike Spenceley, are you about to say something?
I am. Thank you. Tom, this is fantastic. a couple of years back, and I've changed roles since then, but I was working on an idea where I was like trying to figure out like how to get, we have a knowledge base with a bunch of content, right? And everybody wants to plug generative AI chatbots into it. But we know like it's really hard to govern content, especially in really large, complex global companies, right? And, I was kind of messing around with this idea of like getting away from like traditional documents in a knowledge base and like starting to treat the content like sort of building blocks. Like, okay, on topic X, right? What's the piece of information that everybody in this whole company needs to know? What are the pieces of information that are localized by different countries? What are the pieces of information that only a contact center agent needs to know? And like starting to really get granular with the content. And I guess my question is, one, like, where have you seen this work really well in that sort of context? And two, is part of this story about kind of getting away from storing and organizing content in a traditional way and getting like down to like more of a modular approach and getting a little more rigorous maybe with the metadata. So yeah, any thoughts on that would be very helpful.
Yeah, I see big problem. Yeah, big organizations especially create multiple pieces of content that are all related to the one ask. An automotive retailer creates a website that describes a car. They have a parts list that says how you build the car. They have an invoice that says how you bought the car. They have lots and lots of things going on, and they do not tie together. I think tying them together and building the ontology at that scale is best left to the giant corporations. I can't see that being a small business or a CMS ask. That's huge. But what I see is that documents that describe themselves allow themselves to be extracted from the memory pool, the data lake that they're in, and travel to a new location without referring to external documents. Because if you say you create, a car's parts list and say, see schedule 26 of assembly document number 15 stored in the garage warehouse number 12, that's useless. That doesn't mean anything. So the document has to have the context of the things that it's talking about inside the document. Now, we're all worried about AIs taking our job, and AIs can write the documents if you give it the good enough brief. But to design the document, to design the structures, and to design the facets that the document needs to keep it a living document is where the humans come in. The humans understand things that machines cannot put things together. Way back in the day, I had Claude writing a code for me, and I said to Claude, I don't like the functions you put in those files, or remove them. So yeah, Claude obediently removed the files. So it has no context, no understanding. It's literal. It's the 8-year-old in a shop blundering about saying, I want that one, I'll do that. They're machines. They aren't intelligences. We talk about machines and we talk about AI, intelligence, and thinking. They don't think, they associate, they throw in randomized pebbles to make themselves more attractive and conversational. But they're still machines, and you'll get your fingers trapped in the machine and it will crush your hand. So designing the structures that makes the documents useful in a standalone environment is much, much more important than typing the prose. The ideas come from the people. The typing can come from the machines.
Yeah, so I think the big takeaway there is that it only has the machine only has the context that we give it, and how we give it that context really matters in terms of the result.
It really, really matters, yes. And you give it enough context, it can stitch ideas together. Without the context, wow. We've all played with it. We've all played with it.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Perhaps Antonio, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I have a question, because we have a debate, right? Machine experience, customer experience, which takes the lead, right? It's kind of like you have the IT and CTOs who say, hey, here's our structure, here's what we need to work within the parameters based on the agentic setups that they've done, right? And it's like, well, that's restricted for the customer experience. How do you turn that around so that, because of what you just said to Michael, right? Content, the way that's being developed, I feel should be the one driving what the machine experience should do, or kind of work together. But right now we're running into bumps where it's like, well, here's what we've designed on the machine side, work within that. Where have you?
It's got to be
have you ever
designed.
seen that?
Yeah, it's got to be designed for both. It's got to be designed for people and machines simultaneously. You don't subtract the user experience. You keep the user experience. A good thing here is when you get modern user experience, you have toasts that silently blow up and go across the screen, and a human catches that and goes, oh, yeah, that failed. An AI will not see that toast. So you need to put affordances in the HTML and on the screen that a screen capture AI will understand, that an HTML reading AI will understand, that a human will understand. Humans don't like to be given every step at once. We've got limited memories. We just want 3 things to decide. Choose 1, 2, 3, move on. 1, 2, 3, move on. The machine wants everything at once. So every page, I believe, should be redundant and contain all of the information that a machine would want. You don't have to expose this to the human. It can be in the background, hiding, and the human can look at the metadata if they want later. But the machine should know what the end journey is going to be. You don't hide it in the user journey. And at the moment, that is what we're doing. UX hides the end cost in the user journey, because the last step is, do you want postage and packing? Do you want insurance? Do you want specialized delivery? That's 3 pages in. The machine isn't going to get to 3 pages in. The child that wants the dinosaur says that one. It's dad that has to go through and find out what the price is, not the kid. So the AI is the kid. We need AI to be the dad.
Oh, thank you for that.
All right, Tom, I saw your presentation in Frankfurt, and I see the evolution, just like with these physical copies of the book. I also had a peek at the feedback forms from Frankfurt, so the actual paper forms that people filled out, about 100 or so people in the room. And I think I kind of see both feedback saying something like optimize for MX or die. And I think another kind of chunk of feedback was also this whole point of almost a revival of structured content, which there was also other sessions that covered on day 2. But would you mind perhaps sharing with us what was your reflections on the feedback and the conversations you had in Frankfurt? What did you learn? What did you take away from that?
Or the big takeaway for me is that the message I've been spreading is JSON LD is good for AI. Yeah, I've been spreading that SEO, GEO, all of these things, disabilities, all that great for AI. And I've realized I haven't got the real message. And the real message is that the metadata that we're pushing here isn't those things. It's the authorship, the ownership, the editorship, the provenance, the updates, the other things. It's the things surfaced, not search engine optimization, but the things that you already hold in content operations isn't getting pushed out there for people to see. So that's my big takeaway. I also feel that I'm not trying to create a competition with everybody doing these things. I'm trying to build a practice that the world will have. It's not me, it's not my MX, it's our MX. And I created an organization called The Gathering, which is open standards to help drive the metadata to make this work. And anybody can build implementations and documentation against those standards. It's a bit like W3C. They don't write the HTML. They write what tells you what HTML is. And that's what I'm trying to do with MX.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions, whether you joined us before on this learning journey or not? Now is your time. If not, I would say thank you very much, Tom, for joining us from Croatia. We made this work. Thanks for sharing an update on your work. Thanks for everybody who joined. I really love this format where we can see each other again a little bit. I think we have just one here at the end. Sven, did you want to say something, or did you want to just clap?
Just clapping. Sorry.
All right, no problem. So
Thank you very
raising
much.
both hands. All right,
Okay.
that's all we had, folks. Thank you, everybody who joined. Thank you, Tom, and keep us posted with your progress. Can't wait for the next one.
Thanks, Tom.
All the best. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.